Hi, it's fucking Blue the Dragon, and I've got corn in my teeth. 1 second. Get out. Just better. So, as you may have guessed from the title of this video, I'm going to be talking about fursuit dancers and/or dancer-furs, and the problem with them. First off, you may be thinking, what gives me the right to even talk about this subject? Well, I'm a dancer. And by dancer, I don't mean I go to the clubs and grind on people and like pump my fist in the air, and I don't even mean, oh, I won a few fursuit dance competitions. I mean, I am a legitimate professional dancer. It's my career. It's what I do. I've trained in dancing for 15 years, and I'm not going to say professionally trained because that doesn't make any sense, because it implies that you're being taught by a professional, but the definition of professional is someone who gets paid to do their job. And pretty much every single dance teacher gets paid to do their job, so anyone who's taken a single dance class is professionally trained. So that's just a stupid term. I'm also about to start a 13-month dance contract touring America with Barnum & Bailey and Ringling Brothers Circus. So I kind of have a little bit of experience in this area. Just kind of a little bit, yeah. There's one more thing that I have to mention, because if I don't mention it, it'll be mentioned to me in the comments over and over and over. Yes, I understand there are people who dance just for fun, and I also understand that the majority of the furries that enter dance competitions are those people. However, that does not mean they are exempt from constructive criticism, because that's what I'm going to give. Everyone can improve, and if you've got the option, why wouldn't you? With that also out of the way, here's a quick overview. In this video, I'm going to talk about the dancer-furs themselves, the dancing itself, the basis of dancing in general, and how the majority of dancer-furs could improve from what I've seen so far. Let's start with the people. The number one problem with the people in this scene are the overinflated egos. Now let me clarify, there's a huge difference between someone who has confidence and someone who has an overinflated ego. Someone who has confidence will get up on stage, they'll do their thing, they won't really care what anyone thinks. They're just there to have fun and they're happy with themselves. Someone who has an overinflated ego will also get up and do their thing, except they'll expect praise, and when they don't get it, they turn into a 5-year-old who's just shat their pants. Now, overinflated egos are actually much more common than you think they would be in this fandom. And I think the reason for it is the fandom itself. Anyone who's part of this fandom will know that furries are some of the most supportive and encouraging people around. And sometimes they're too supportive and encouraging. Basically, here's a scenario that seems to happen quite a lot. Person number one wants to enter a dance competition, but they're a little bit nervous. So a group of friends of that person goes, oh hey, no, you should do it, you'll be great. So they do. They enter the dance competition, and naturally afterwards they get a lot of praise for being brave and doing their thing. That's no problem, that's fantastic. That's encouraging people to get out of their comfort zone, and I have a lot of respect for people who get out of their comfort zone. The problem occurs when that support doesn't change after 5 or so entries, and neither does the performer. So basically you've got the performer coming in at this level, and they stay at this level, whereas the support just keeps building up and up and up, inflating their ego until they get this feeling that they're way better than they are. Because you've got this sort of standoff where the friends don't want to stop supporting, but the person doesn't want to change anything and lose the support, so they never really improve, but they keep getting encouragement to do exactly what they're doing, so they stay at that one level that they entered on, meaning they never improve, but they think they're doing really good, and that's where the overinflated ego comes from. I think this problem really comes from a lack of understanding and knowledge though, because the person doesn't know how to improve and the friends don't know how to help the person improve because they just don't really know what's going on half the time. So, that being said, I would like to share some understanding and knowledge with you. Let's go. Alright, and welcome to Fuckface Teaches You How to Do Things. Yes, today we're going to start with the absolute basics of dance, and this comes down to the 3 main elements of dance: space, time, and dynamics. Let's have a closer look, shall we? So first off, we've got time, and time is pretty self-explanatory. If you're dancing to music, you're going to want to keep in time with it. This is a super basic element of dance, and if you haven't mastered it, it would be best to not perform yet. I'm not saying don't ever, I'm just saying probably practice timing first. Second, we're going to go with space, and I'm not talking about space with stars and planets, and I'm not talking about space as in... There is no other type of space other than the one I'm going to talk about, really, is there? Space refers to your performance space, and being a 3D space, there are 3 axes that you can move along. We've got X and Y, and also Z. I think that's right, let's go with it. Basically, X and Y means you can go forward, you can go back, you can go left and right, and you can also go up and down on the Z axis. Make sure you use all of them. And lastly, we have dynamics, and dynamics are very easily explained by using the term light and shade. So basically, we've got this bright thing right here. How much more interesting does this bright thing look if it's compared to something that is dark? It adds a nice contrast and makes it more interesting. Kind of like a piece of art. If you just have a white canvas, it's a bit boring because it's all the same thing. But then when you add all the colours and shapes, it adds a whole bunch of different things, which is a nice thing to look at. And in dance, this translates to varying the energy and type of movements. So after a while of doing sharp, hard-hitting, energetic movements, you want some controlled, slow movements, if you know what I mean, because they complement each other and they just make each other look even better. Right, so those are the three main elements of dance. Enjoy them. Now that we've talked about that, let's talk about some common things that I see fursuit dancers do that they probably shouldn't, that I can offer a relatively easy fix for. Some of them will take time, but the premise is easy. So the biggest problem with fursuit dancing is that it is fursuit dancing. It's not just normal dancing. You are covered by a sheet of material, sometimes many sheets of material. This masks your movements. So doing this out of suit is going to look completely different. It might look like this in suit. So you have to change the way you approach things. Generally, an easy rule is to add more energy and bigger movements. A lot of the time I see fursuit dancers and, you know, just generally amateur dancers not finish their movements. And what I mean by that is they kind of throw it away and don't clarify what they're doing. And that wasn't very helpful at all. Let's give you an example. So an unfinished movement might look like this. See how I go for something and then it just kind of goes and turns into shit. A finished movement will look like this. It finishes, it has an end. It doesn't just shit itself and then leave. This can also be referred to as sharpness, as opposed to sloppiness, and those are real terms that have been used throughout my entire training. Dancers are smart people, but it is a really good way to explain it. You don't want sloppy, you want sharp, and you want it to finish. I think this kind of comes from overthinking, and people start a move and they go, oh cool, I did that, what was the next move? And they forget to finish it because they're thinking about the next one. So you've got to kind of train yourself to make sure each move is its own process. I don't know if that made sense at all, but we're moving on. This one's not so easy to fix, because you can either do it or you can't really. There's not much you can do about it. Choreography is generally quite bad, and I'm trying to say that in a nice way without offending anyone, but it's normally pretty bad. It's quite hard to think of dance moves when you haven't had 15 years of them being shoved in your face. So take your time while choreographing. Look up influences from videos, try not to steal choreography because no one likes that, but try and get inspirations. Take the time to plan out exactly what you're gonna do. Rehearse it a couple of times so it's stuck in your head. That way if the nerves get the better of you, it'll be like second nature and you'll just do it and it'll be fine. And you'll have something other than just running around in a circle. Can't say I've seen that yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's happened. A particular tip for choreography is to avoid repetition. Yes, you can use the same move in a dance more than once, there's nothing wrong with that. However, if you do the same thing over and over and over, it's kind of like doing the same combo in a fighting game. All your friends are gonna hate you for it. It doesn't have any variation and it's not interesting to watch. It's like if I just sat here doing this for 3 hours, are you gonna sit here and watch it? Maybe. Maybe you really have nothing better to do, but chances are you're not gonna stay. Another thing with choreography is to make sure you follow, for lack of a better word, a storyline. Simple example of a good choreography storyline is to build up from the beginning, and other than the dynamics that you put in your dance, it should only go up from there, building up to the final finish. Quite a lot of times I see openings that are just kind of there because they don't know what else to do, and then they start dancing. Don't do that. You don't want to start your dance with your best move because then you have nothing to surprise the audience with. But you also don't want to start it with your worst move because then there'll be no audience to surprise. They'll have left. Then you steadily increase with dynamics and you finish at a high point. Most of the time I see furs just sort of stop and the music keeps going and they go, oh yeah, stop the music. If you have to spend a bit of time to cut your music, please do, because a disappointing finish can ruin a very, very good routine. Like, really ruin it, just kind of shit all over it. And my last tip is to make sure you use the 3 elements of dance. They're there for a reason. They will help you greatly. Space, time, dynamic. Don't be out of time. Don't just stand in one spot. You have an entire space to use it. And also don't do the one thing throughout the entire routine. You want variation. Variation makes it interesting. Slow, fast, slow, and so on. And yep. Alright, this video has gone on for way too long, so I'm going to stop that here. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, comment below something about something. Also subscribe if you haven't already, and share it with your friends because it might help them. You never know. I'll see you in the next video, whatever that is. But until then, fuck off!